All right, so let's have a little bit of fan talk here. So just recently, Trump was doing press conference. Well, it's not a press conference. You know how he does that chopper talk. Which, by the way, this is brought to you by Fan Talk. Um, he is standing in front of reporters and he is talking about the events in Palestine. And his remark was probably one of the, to date, one of the most vile things that, I'm sorry, I mean, he's not even human. But we've already known that. But this was like, so far to date, this is the worst thing he said. And what he said is in relations to Palestine, that he says that Hamas, well, they want to be unalived. So Israel should just go in and finish the job. Hamas. What he's doing is conflating so that his supporters don't really see what he's trying to imply, but what he's actually trying to say is that he wants what's happening in Palestine to the people, not Hamas, to the people. He is basically telling Netanyahu, go ahead, finish the job, hurry it up. Now, if you remember, it was maybe 2 months ago, he had put out this AI-generated video with him and Netanyahu running through what they were now calling the Trump Gaza Strip, and having parties and having all kinds of fun. And that's because he doesn't see people, aside from what looks, well, it's not even like what looks like him, it's what has money like him. He doesn't see anybody as anything unless they bring advantage to him. And so he just sees, oh, the Palestinian people, oh, that's dollar signs. Gaza, oh, and Palestine in itself, oh, well, that's just property. That's how he sees it. And I mean, honestly, I keep putting this out there because I'm hoping that, some of you maggots will come along and you'll try and say something about this. I'm hoping, because I really want to understand how you can support this kind of behavior, this kind of thought. And what does he also say? Is that, we gave billions of dollars of food, and aid and food to go to Gaza. But it was all confiscated and burned and sitting in ports. Wait a second. You just had food that was paid for. Here in America, you had food that was paid for through that was paid through USAID, and you instead of giving it to the people that it was supposed to go to, you had it incinerated. Yeah. Remember, this is the same guy who is saying that being homeless is a mental disorder and you should be committed. Not the fact that, well, your policies, the things that you are enacting, the violence that you are pushing on people is causing all kinds of situations where it can cause homelessness, it can cause loss of jobs, so it's loss of income, everything that creates the reason why someone would be homeless. How can homelessness be? So for all of this time, all over the world, you're trying to tell me that everybody that's homeless all over the world is because they have a mental disorder? And that mental disorder is homelessness. Not something that is related to homelessness. No, being homeless in itself is just a mental disorder. Like, I would hope that you can understand the severity of my voice about this, because, I mean, to me, this is absolutely ridiculous. For him to just say something like, yeah, well, they want to be off. Why are you not finishing the job? Just do it. Like, seriously? Seriously. But you know what's really sad? It's not even sad. You know what's going to be not surprising? That there are going to be tons of his still loyal cult followers are going to be like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. As we are wait. These are the same people that say we want smaller government and we want our taxpayer dollars to be focused on us. Yet we are giving more taxpayer dollars to these other countries in order to fund what's going on. And he tried to be slick and say, oh, yeah, well, we're going to, up the time for Putin, to bring about a ceasefire. That's wild. But then you have what was the Philippines and some other country that they're in the midst of a war themselves, but they're now talking a ceasefire. They didn't really take that long to do it. I mean, yeah, it took long for what was going on, but there was trying to be a regime change, and then after that regime change happens, then boom, now they're like, hey, shit's getting real. We gotta have a ceasefire. And something else that I find really interesting too, really just chaps my ass, because you had Pete Kegsbreath get into another scandal where Qatar is giving Trump a plane for favors, basically, and that plane is supposed to go into his presidential library when he's out. So, yeah, that's a bribe. But Pete Kegsbreath decided that he was going to take money from our nuclear defense program in order to fund the refitting or the outfitting of this plane so that it can be up to his par, up to his... Man, TikTok, you fucking suck for the shit that I cannot say. But I just find that really interesting. Like, why does he need another plane when he's already got Air Force One? Is this plane really going to go to his presidential library, or is he going to be jet setting around the world in it when he gets out? Because people are like, well, okay, if you're building all this, why not leave it as a presidential plane? Why are you taking it for yourself? Because that is a bribe. And he's like, oh, well, I don't really know, I mean, just a gift, And Kegsbreath is like, yeah, sure. I mean, we're not, it's money that we're really not going to miss. It's just our nuclear defense program, it ain't nothing. Which that brings me to another point. Why are we so involved in other people's nuclear involvement and nuclear armament, but not ours? Like, we're running around with all kinds of nukes, but we're telling everybody else, you can't have any. Nope. We only want Russia and North Korea Russia, North Korea, and a couple other places. We only want those guys to have nuclear weapons. But I don't know if you realize this, but that's going in a line. So if these guys were to shoot off anything, that's taking out everybody. But we are so worried about Iran, who didn't have any, but you want to go bomb them. So now, by that measure, what makes you think that somebody else shouldn't come in and say, hey, you know what? We don't like that America has nuclear armament. And you have a crazed individual who is, the man is just a sick individual, and he's mentally deteriorating and physically. And you want him to have the nuclear codes? This guy tried to take that shit when he was out of his first term. He tried to take that shit and keep it in his own shit so he could sell that shit off and then hold some of it as trophies. So you don't think that this guy who gets bribes from all over the place, his family has benefited billions of dollars, not off of just the name, but because of the deals that they did because they were in office. But you guys want to go and talk about Hunter Biden and his dealings with Burisma, which had nothing to do with anything here. It had nothing to do with personal benefits that were going to benefit their presidential their presidential presence. It only benefited him. He had the job. Yeah, sure, he used his daddy's name to get the job, but they paid him the money for the work that he was doing. But here you've got, Kushner, he was out doing everything. Then you've got his daughter, who was the mastermind, we're finding out now, behind everything. Thank you for, what is his name? Oh my God. Howard Stern. For bringing out all the information and now putting all of them on blast and on notice and saying that, hey, if you stay quiet, you're guilty. If you speak out about it, you're guilty. He basically cornered them into a market, which is why you don't hear anything from any of them. Even Melania has benefited off of the presidency for her own gain, not to help Americans, but for her own gain. So you see how this shit really doesn't make any fucking sense? And the fact that you sit there and want to defend this person and say that he did good and he was a far better choice than anybody else, that is fucking garbage. You are just a petty, simple, uneducated person. Petty and simple. And I realize now that when you are not educated and you see everyone else around you being educated, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was growing up in high school, the jocks were always the dumb ones, but they were also the bullies. The nerds were the ones that now rule the world. You see what I'm saying? So it's like those jocks, they focus more on doing dumb shit and having fun and wanting to pick on people, and now they're Trump supporters. Make it make sense, motherfuckers. Make it make sense. Anyways, I'm gonna fan this out.